I'm sure all of us are irritated about the actions or inactions by the NFL about the players not standing for the national anthem, right? I'm neither going to take sides with the political parties nor support anyone, but I'm going to say it like it is because it was so interesting that the topic that I'm going to preach today would kind of shed a new light for us to know what we ought to be doing to a banner or a flag, and what should be the banner or flag of a Christian. The Bible tells us, give honor where honor is due. Paying respect to a flag is biblical. Have you ever thought of that? I'm going to preach it to you. The Hebrew word for flag or a banner is nissi. That's a word in Hebrew. Flag is just a piece of cloth, just I pointed out to kids. But what it represents is much more than a piece of cloth. When a battle is won, you probably have seen, they raise the flag to convey, you've seen those pictures, right? The soldiers raising the flag after the battle is won. It is to convey there is peace. It is to convey that we won the victory. It is to convey that lives are lost. So it is important to recognize those who fought to give us the freedom. That's why we call this Veterans Day. Not only freedom, but the prosperity of this land, and then freedom to worship the Lord, to have complete liberty. It is because someone laid their lives. So that's why we have Veterans Day. It fits into what I'm preaching today. That's why I'm giving this intro. I think, in my opinion, I said I'm not going to be on any political side. It is wrong to disrespect the flag. And I'm going to preach about this banner or flag. Listen to me carefully. The 10th name I'm going to hit today of the Lord, in your notes, Jehovah Nissi. The Lord is my banner, or the Lord is my flag. The Hebrew word Nissi means to be high, raised, or conspicuous, or making it visible. See, every branch of the armed forces has their own banner or a flag. So what they do, I had to go back and read about the practice, and it really fits right in. It's wonderful. During the battle, when they raise their own banner, or insignia, whatever you might call it, emblem, and it conveys a meaning to those that are fighting. It gives them courage and gives them hope. It would help a soldier to keep the bearings and then fight on, because they have hope and courage by seeing that lifted emblem. So the flag or an emblem gives a soldier hope and courage to fight on. And to disrespect that, to me, is totally wrong when it comes to it. But let's go into why I chose to say that. In the Old Testament, Moses leading the people of Israel, just like this. I know. All right, put it back on. Through the wilderness, parted the Red Sea, and then the bitter water of Marah. And I preached about the last Sunday, God made that to be sweet, healing of the water. Then they come to a place where they saw a formidable enemy. And this enemy Amalekites challenged the Israelites. Now, that place called Rephidim, Rephidim is the place where the Israelites and Moses came and camped, and seeing the Amalekites, and people obviously complained. We can't fight. These guys are mighty men. And I want you to know, make note of that. These Amalekites, who are they? Have you ever thought of that? All these Hittites, Amalekites, and all these kites in the Old Testament. And then Amalekites are actually Israelites' cousin. And turn with me, I'll show it to you. It's interesting if you read the scripture. Genesis 36, verse 12. Genesis 36, verse 12. And 36:12. These are the sons of Reuel, and that is Esau's family. Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These are the sons of Bashmath, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Helamath, daughter of Ahab. And then you read, you would find in the somewhere there in the family of Esau, there's a guy by the name of Amalek was born. Where is that? It is right in that Esau's family. And I know... verse 12. Verse 12, yes. Right here. Verse 12, right here. Yeah. Timnah was a concubine of Eliphaz, Esau's son. She bore Amalek. You see that one? And it's Esau's bloodline, Amalek. Who was Esau? Jacob's brother. Who were Israelites? The children of Jacob. Now these Amalekites were their cousins. Make note of that, because it will fit in later on. So the cousins are there trying to fight them out. The trouble came from Israelites' cousins. People were scared. Moses, after consulting God, he made a plan. He said, Joshua, come over. And I want you to take men, go and fight the Amalekites. I know we're not trained soldiers. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take Aaron and Hur, another guy, and go to the top of the hill, and I'm going to raise this staff and hold it. The scripture tells, as long as Moses held the staff high, his army below the mountain were winning. When he lowers down, Amaleks were winning. You know the story, right? It's interesting. Turn with me to Exodus 17. I got to read that. Exodus 17, 11 through 16. Whenever Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed. And whenever he lowered his hand, Amalek prevailed. And Moses' hands grew weary, so they took a stone and put it under him. And he sat on it. Well, Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side. So his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua overwhelmed the Amaleks and his people with the sword. Then Lord said to Moses, write this as a memorial in a book and recite it in the years of Joshua, and I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called the name of God, the Lord is my banner, Jehovah Nissi, saying, a hand upon the throne of the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Moses raising his hands towards heaven, symbolizing that he is asking God to give them victory. He said, I'm going to call this place, built an altar, Jehovah Nissi. That means the Lord is our flag. The Lord is our banner. And I'm going to raise him high. We have battles in life just like that. We battle with our health. We battle with our finances. We battle with our spouses, right? I hope not. And we battle with our kids, we battle with our neighbors, we battle with our cousins, we battle with our co-workers, we battle with our bosses. Well, you name it. We have battles every day. When you get out, you have battle. You face battle. Battle in the highway, battle in the country roads. You have battle. Battle all the way around battle. We have battles after battles after battles. And what did we learn by Moses raising his staff high up? And the moment he puts it down, defeat. High up. Victory. So, what do we learn from that? First thing, when we are in the battle of life, talk to the Lord about the life's battle. Talk to the Lord. Moses stretching the staff of the rod towards heaven. It symbolizes God's power is available as long as you lift whatever you've got. That rod has got no magical things. Nothing. It's just a piece of wood. Then why would God ask Moses to take the piece of wood and then create all kinds of problems in Egypt, giving plagues, and then taking the same staff and over the ocean, the Red Sea, and it parts into two? And then the same staff and Moses raising doesn't have any magic. That rod, no, nothing. And I want to be aware of this television evangelist saying that, hey, I'm going to send you a kerchief. I'm going to send you this. This has power. That's got nothing to do with that. God's power has got nothing to do with the rod of Moses. It has got all to do with Moses' obedience to the Lord, raising his hands up. That's all to it. I want you to stretch your hand and obey me. When we pray, that means we're enlisting God in our battle. There's no magic about that. Moses said, I'm going to go on the hilltop. That means I'm going to have a clear vision of the battle that my people are fighting. At the same time, I'm going to lift my eyes, my soul, my rod, everything to heaven. I'm going to have two guys lift me up because I don't want that to come down. In other words, when you and I are in the battle, life's battle, whatever you're facing, and I want you to know that God is available. Lift your hands up and towards the heaven. No magic about that. It's simply saying, Lord, I'm in obedience. I'm looking up to you. Another great point I see here, believe me, I've been preaching this for 37 years probably, but never seen this way. But just 2 days ago I saw that I was reading this. There are times Christian would get tired of prayer. Have you been there? You pray and pray and nothing happens. You pray for certain things to happen in your family. No. And you get so tired. And I know Moses got tired of lifting his hands. That's when God said, hey, you're not alone. Go to church. You got people to pray for you. And call your neighbor, Christian neighbor. They will pray for you. You need to have someone around you to lift your hands up to the Lord. There are times you're tired. There are times you can't ask God continuously because you are tired. And there are times you need Aaron and Hur. There are times you got to put a stone and ask, and you need to be seated on that, saying that I know you're tired, and I want Christians to call one another. That's why you're praying. Why do we have the prayer list? Do you think that Brother Wayne has no other job to just print this? Do you think that we don't have any job on Wednesday night to take the prayer list? And do you think that Miss Beverly writes it down on the email, said have no other job? No. It has got everything to do with lifting somebody up in the Lord, just like how they lifted Moses. God is my banner. Even Paul in 1 Thessalonians 5:25, he was asking the church to pray for him. Not that Paul can't handle any problems. He could handle it. He was an apostle. And yet he's asked people to pray. Number one, talk to the Lord when you're in the middle of the battle. Secondly, trust the Lord during the battle. Everyone trusts in something. The key is putting our trust in the right place. In the Old Testament, we read that people put their trust in chariots and in horses. But King David said, Lord, I don't put my trust in any one of those things. I put my trust in you. Now, if you translate that into a modern understanding, where do we put our trust? Our chariots Our horses are power, position, and possession. And these are our chariots. Sometimes we put our trust in them. We do not trust in the Lord with all our heart and mind because we lean onto our own understanding of power, possession, and position. Those are our chariots. When we rely on them, our mind would never be set on God. One of my favorite verses in Isaiah 26:3. You know what it says? Is that God will keep me in perfect peace if my mind is set on Him. In other words, Moses said, I'm going to set my mind on you. Although I see the battle of my people down below, Moses was seeing his people being cut. The blood was coming down, and he's seeing that. And he said, Lord, I'm going to put my trust in you because I can't rely on me because you're going to give me peace. Are you in the battle of some sort in your life? Lift up the banner of the cross. I'm going to tell you this. Anytime you lift the banner of the cross, Jesus said He will draw all men unto Himself. You lift the banner of the cross in your life, in the church, and everybody's in church, particularly. I went to my old church, First Baptist Church of Savage. I was sharing that with Miss Beverly at the Bible study. I took a missionary with me, and I told Ellen Latham, the current pastor, saying that, hey, I've never been in my office, used to be in my office for 10 years. This is my second time. Let me walk in here. I said, oh, sure, come on in to my office. And I did. And after that, hey, would you take me to the sanctuary because I heard that you made some changes around. I want to make sure that, the changes are okay. And I particularly wanted to see, and I shared with them exactly where they put the cross. I want to know that. So I said, take me out. Then when I saw the cross right smack middle over the baptistry, I turned to him and I said, buddy, Pastor, you did the right thing. And I don't want the cross to be moved from the center. And he said, I took some flack on it. Well, good. That's fine. As long as you put the cross in the middle, lift it up. That's what church is all about. I said, I told him, it's ironic that you have a cross lifted up in memory of Mr. Croston. We have a cross lifted up in memory of Mrs. Croston, but cross is lifted up in both churches. That's what we need. We need to lift the cross of the Lord Jesus in the midst of our lives, in the church, in our personal lives. And as long as you lift the banner of the cross, you have the victory. I have the victory. That's what Moses said. This place is called Jehovah Nissi. God is my banner. And the second name of the day, Jehovah Shalom. The Lord is peace. I picked that missionary from Dallas Airport, and I have utmost respect for those who are driving the Beltway of Washington. It was pouring down, heavy rain on Tuesday. Can you believe it took 3 hours from the airport to my house in Savage? And all along I was talking to the missionary saying that I thank God for these guys driving on this road every day. I thought about Brother Andy, I thought about Brother Jim Rogers, and of course Brother Jim Kingsley on 270. It's not an easy road either. I mean, all these guys driving around, take my hats for you because it is difficult. I lost my cool. Believe me. I did. Because, 270, the division over there, the guys that are getting onto the Beltway should be on the first 2 lanes, right? But everybody going to 270 occupied all 4 lanes. And when it came closer, they were putting lights and coming. Then I said, can you get over there? I can get my over. That's exactly what I said. I got irritated. So we all have our cools, right, being tested. I was anxious. Most of us lead high-stress lives, filled with anxiety and tension. When we are under stress, a lot of pressure, you know what we need? We need peace. Something that eludes us. When you're under pressure, peace is something very difficult to get. Now, true story in the Old Testament, Joshua won all the wars in the Promised Land. and a lot more to be done, but then he won all the major wars, and people settled in the land of Israel. And then, 325 years, they played this cat and mouse game. They're true to God Jehovah, then go right back. And I often wondered why in the world the people of Israel have seen Red Sea parting into two, have seen the bitter water of Marah into sweet water. They have seen water gushing out of the rock. They've seen Amalekites defeated. They've seen all these wonderful miracles of the Lord. They have seen Jordan parting, and they have seen Jericho's walls falling down, and they have seen all these miracles, and yet they went back worshiping the idols. Why? That's a good word, because they're idiots. But you know, sometimes I'm hard to say that we are idiots too. Sometimes put us in their shoes, and I wondered why. Why? Here's the reason. It's a beautiful thing. They were religious. They wanted to worship something. The desire to worship was there. But then that desire was geared towards the idols, not Jehovah. And I think I concluded because of this one reason. When you worship the Lord Jehovah, you have sets of rules to follow. When you worship the idols, you still worship, but you have nothing to follow. You could be on your own. You could walk according to your desires. So the desire to worship was there. That was not taken out of Israelites. But then they were not worshiping the true God because they have 10 commandments to follow. I don't want it. I want to just be on my own, just like a typical American lifestyle today, not Christians. They say, whatever pleases me, that I will do. I don't want people to say that gay lifestyle is wrong. I don't want people to say that transgender is wrong. I can lead my life any way that I want to. That's idol worship, folks. Precisely idol worship. I have a desire to worship, but I worship the wrong God. The Lord saw that and said, you're worshiping idols, so I'm going to let the Midianites defeat you. Midianites, what they did, they ravaged Israelites, they destroyed the crops, they set fire to their fields, they killed people and the cattle, and they were a menace to Israelites. Who are these people, Midianites? Again, I went back to the Bible to find out, who are these people? Genesis 25, 1 and 2. Genesis 25, Abraham's life. Abraham took another wife after Sarah died, Keturah. She bore him Zimran and Jokshan, Medan, and Midian. Midians were Abraham's sons by Keturah. So who are these in relations to Israelites? They were cousins removed, just like West Virginians. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding, okay? So the Midianites were cousins of Israelites. And they were trying to kill these people. You could read in Judges chapter 6, 1 through 6. And then people were hiding. The Israelites were hiding in the caves. They were hiding wherever they could hide. This one country boy by the name of Gideon, he was at the threshing floor. And when you read more, this Gideon was scared because he can't do it during the daylight. These guys, Midianites, their cousins removed. They're going to come and get him. So he was doing secretly because he can get something. Oh, there was set fire. This Gideon, he was doing that, and all of a sudden, the angel of the Lord, the incarnate God, appeared to him and said, Gideon, the man of valor. He looked at them, you must be kidding. I'm hiding here, I'm scared to death, and then you're calling me a man of valor? Not me. The Lord said, oh man of mighty valor, Judges chapter 6. And he said, put it in today's language, right? God said, I'm going to send you to the battle. And he must have said, you must be kidding me. You forgot us.
What happened to you all these years? You know, every time when we do something against God, sin against God, rebel against God, we blame it on God. Don't we? So he was blaming it. Have you been there? He blamed the defeat of Israelites upon God. But the angel said, you're going to defeat them. And it's interesting to know when the Lord, the angel of the Lord told Gideon, Gideon immediately built the altar and called the place Jehovah Shalom. Means the Lord is peace. How can a man have the peace of God? Listen to this carefully. I want to talk to us personally here. How can a man have the peace of God when the war has not won yet? How can a man of God, a woman of God have the peace when your problems are not solved yet? Can you? Yes, it's possible. Gideon said, it is possible. Therefore, I'm naming this place Jehovah Shalom. God is here. He will give me peace. See, Satan has his own strategy to depress, oppress, put people under a lot of pressure. It's very interesting. Satan uses the strategy that he used in the Old Testament, the same strategy he uses forever upon God's people. Number one, he uses problems. Why do we have problems? You all think that we will have peace if we are in control of everything. People want to be in control of everything. I want to be in control of my job. I want to be in control of my family. I want to be in control of my finances. I want to be in control of everything. As a matter of fact, you and I have no control over anything in the world. Can you control the weather? You can't. I mean, last Sunday was nice and warm. Look at this Sunday. Can you control it? You can't. Can you control the stock market? You can't. Can you control the traffic? Absolutely not. I figured that out. You know, you can. So Satan would rob a Christian of peace when he puts a Christian in a position of not being in control. Are you with me? He would rob a Christian when he puts a Christian and make him feel that he's not in control. So when you are not in control, the first thing goes out the window is contentment. You're not content. See, contentment is not something that is born with human beings. We're not born with contentment. That's why Paul is saying, read Bible very clearly. Paul, Philippians 14:1, he says, I have learned to be content. It is a learned trait. How can we learn contentment? When you're not in control, that's when you learn contentment. Gideon learned that. Satan uses problems. Secondly, are you ready for it? Satan uses people. You know, Satan used who? Esau's kids, cousins, Amalekites, Midianites, cousins removed, people. Satan uses people. So Satan would bring personality conflicts to rob your peace. Between husband and wife, he would bring a conflict because he would use the personality. Ah, you're always like this. You never do this. Remember? Always and never. When you do that, it comes from Satan. Because Satan wants to bring those terminologies into your life so that you would be apart. Personality conflicts. You know what you and I need to do? Lord, I can't help. I can't help the way Shelley behaves. I can't help the way my children behave. And she can't help the way I behave. But one thing we do together, Jehovah Shalom, you are the one keeping us at peace. Satan uses people, problems, and possessions. Pretty simple. For some people, having too much is a problem. They have trouble keeping it. They have trouble safeguarding it. They're worried about where the money is going to go. And on the other end of the spectrum, having little can be a trouble because you go head over heels to get anything that you want in life and you get into trouble. So having too much problem, having little is a problem. That's why Paul said, I'll learn to be content. You know what we should do? Let me close with this. What we need is God's assurance and victory. Although, listen to this, although Gideon said, God is my peace, Jehovah Shalom. He said, oh, I need to know. And he put a couple of tests, right? Kind of riddle, right? We know the story. You know what he said? Well, how do I know that you're going to give me victory? So I'm going to put my fleece wool outside of my house. And in the morning when I get up, I want the fleece wool to be wet. Well, he put two tests. First, he said, I'm going to put the fleece on the threshing floor. The next morning, the fleece should be wet, but the ground should be dry. What he was asking, I want the dew to only fall on my fleece, and on my fleece should be completely wet, the ground should be wet. And I was thinking, that guy probably never slept all night long. How is it going to be in the morning? How is it going to be in the morning? I don't know what to do. He probably got up very early in the morning to go and test. And lo and behold, God answered the stupid test he gave. And then he took the fleece, it's full of water, the ground was dry. And then he got assurance. The next day, I want reassurance. Now, we have fun with it, right? We do that. We asked the Lord, I want reassurance. He's flipped that. He said, the next night, Lord, I want the ground to be wet, my fleece to be cool. Dry. God did that. People have asked me today, when I say today, these days, can we test God like that? I tell them no. Gideon did that because he had no assurance or reassurance. Just like you and me have right here. This is our fleece. You have the assurance and reassurance in the Bible. So God's assurance and victory is given here. Secondly, trust God's direction. It's again interesting. All right, Lord, I'm going to do this. All right, I got the assurance, reassurance, and you are going to keep me at peace, and I'm going to gather people, 3,200 men, soldiers from Israelites. I'm going to fight these Midianites. And God said, come here. Weed out all the weak ones. Weed out all those people who can't fight the war. Bring it down to 300. And I'm sure Gideon, he didn't ask the question. He probably thought, what in the world are you talking, Lord? 300 men? And they're mighty men in their camp. 300 men? And then I said, all right, I'll do it. So 300 men, and then God said, I want them to do what? Clay pots, and a ram's horn for trumpet, and a torch. No sword. And Gideon must have thought, my goodness, what are you telling me? I know you are the God who gives me peace. I already said that. But then I need a sword. Remember who is the general who made the Japanese general surrender on board the ship in the Pacific? What was the name of it? What's the name of the general? I forgot the general. The true story. The Japanese general came to surrender. Japanese army, Second World War, World War II, done. He came to shake the general's hand. True story. You go and read that. American general refused to shake the Japanese general's hand. And then Japanese general said, what's wrong? And then the American general, how can I forget? I'm a historian. I'm getting old. Forgot this name. And then this American general said, looked at the sword of the Japanese general and said, sword first. If you surrender, you need to surrender the sword. You know what it means? It means you surrender what gives you the security. Surrender that. And Gideon must have thought, oh my goodness, 300 men with no sword? I said, yeah, go. And he said, he asked him to do something totally funny, if you read that. He said, I want you to go to the middle watch between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. in the morning, and then ask these guys to go outside the camp of, this Midianites, and I want you to go, and then what you do all of a sudden, raise that lamp, and then blow your horn and break all the clay pots. It's like, drama, right? What you got to do? No sword, you break that? The very first psychological warfare. Learn that. Very first, God should do that. You know what happened? 1 o'clock. I put the time there because between 10 and 2 is the middle watch, and maybe they went there about 12 or 1 in the middle of the night. They were all sleeping, and there was a changing of the guards. And then these guys just shouted, and you know what they shouted? They shouted beautiful, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. That's amazing. They didn't have a sword. But then they said, sword for the Lord and Gideon. In other words, you are the one giving us victory. We don't have anything. We're going to break the jar and then shout to the Lord, you are the sword. And when they shouted, guess what? These guys, Midianites, they thought the guards were retreating. They pulled their sword, killed one another, ran for their lives, and God gave them victory. When I was doing that, I want to put that in your notes. I put that. Sometimes God will let all of us reach the weakest point or the lowest point in life, so we know without any doubt it is He who wins the battle for us, not our might. It is He. It is Jehovah Shalom. Trust the Lord. Let's bow our heads and pray. In your notes, I gave 2 challenges. Is the Lord your banner in life struggles today? Would you lift your banner up, the banner of the cross, not your chariots or horses? Would you ask God to give you inner peace when you're under a lot of stress and pressure? Before the battle, you acknowledge God is a God of peace. He will give you peace.